Hello, and welcome back to our quiet space. Tonight we journey further back than we have ever been before. Before the pyramids, before writing, before the first farmer ever planted the first seed in the soil, we are traveling to the very dawn of what we call civilization, to a place that shouldn't exist, a mystery that has completely rewritten the story of humanity. We are going to the windswept hills of southeastern Anatolia, 12,000 years ago, to stand in the shadow of Göbekli Tepe. Forget the romantic notion of the simple hunter-gatherer. We are about to witness the work of a people with a complex, powerful, and deeply unsettling inner world. They built a cathedral on a hill before they had even built a village to live in. To endure a day in their world is not a matter of physical strength, but of surviving a psychological and spiritual reality so intense it would shatter the modern mind. Before we make our journey, I want to thank you for being here. Your quiet presence is the foundation of this community. If you find a sense of peace or wonder in our travels, a simple like or a subscribe is a deeply appreciated gesture. And as we gather from all corners of the globe, I invite you to leave a comment with your city and time. It is a quiet joy to feel our community connected across the vast sleeping world. Now let the noise of your time begin to fade. Let your body find its comfort. We are about to witness the construction of the world's first temple, a place of power, of fear, and of a faith so profound it carved mountains with flint. You awaken not to a sound but to a smell. It is the rich, damp scent of the earth, mingled with the sharp, clean aroma of wild sage crushed underfoot, and the greasy, tantalizing smell of roasting gazelle from a nearby fire pit. The air is thin and cold, the kind of pre-dawn chill that feels like a physical presence seeping through the thick, heavy hide that covers you. You are not in a house. You are not even in a hut. You are in a temporary encampment, a collection of simple, circular shelters made from branches and animal skins, huddled on the lee side of a hill. This is not a village. Your people do not have villages. You are a hunter-gatherer band, a small, tightly knit clan of perhaps 30 individuals, and you are perpetually on the move, following the great herds, following the rhythm of the seasons. You rise, your body a tool honed by a lifetime of hardship. It is lean, tough, and scarred. Every muscle is attuned to the subtle language of the landscape. The ache in your joints is not the ache of old age, but the ever-present memory of a life lived without comfort, a life of walking, of carrying, of enduring. The world outside the shelter is a canvas of deep, velvety black, and the brilliant, cold fire of 100 billion stars. There is no light pollution here. The Milky Way is a thick, luminous river, a celestial road so bright it seems you could reach up and touch it. The silence is profound, broken only by the crackle of the embers in the fire pit and the distant, lonely cry of a jackal. But you are not here to hunt. Your clan and dozens of others like it have been drawn here from all across the region, a journey that has taken you weeks. You have come here for the great work. As the first pale grey light of dawn begins to bleed into the eastern sky, a new sound begins. It is the sound of people stirring, of low, guttural voices speaking a language of clicks and soft consonants. An elder from your clan, a woman with a face like a dried apple and eyes that hold the deep, ancient knowledge of the spirits, begins a low, rhythmic chant. It is not a prayer of supplication. It is a chant of preparation, of awakening the spirit for the difficult and sacred work of the day. You eat. The meal is a handful of the roasted gazelle from last night's hunt, tough and stringy, and a small, hard cake of ground wild wheat and pounded nuts. The hunger is a constant, familiar companion, a dull ache in your belly that is never truly silenced. Today's meal is a good one, a luxury of protein and fat to fuel the work ahead. As the sun begins to rise, you begin to walk, not out into the plains to track game, but up the side of the great rounded hill that dominates the landscape. The hill the ancient ones called the Potbelly Hill. Göbekli Tepe, you are not alone. You are part of a great silent procession of hundreds of people, all moving with a shared, unspoken purpose. The air is filled with a sense of immense, almost unbearable solemnity. This is not a construction site as your modern mind would understand it. This is a pilgrimage to a place of creation. As you reach the summit, the full, breathtaking and terrifying reality of the place is revealed in the first, clean light of the rising sun. It is a series of great circular enclosures dug deep into the hilltop, and within them, rising like the ribs of some colossal, buried creature, are the pillars. They are not the grey, weathered ruins of today. They are newly carved from the local limestone. Their surfaces are pale, creamy white that seems to glow in the dawn light. They are immense T-shaped monoliths, some standing 16 feet tall, weighing many tons. They are arranged in circles like silent, watching figures, their T-shaped tops giving them a strange, hauntingly human-like form, like headless giants. But it is the carvings that steal your breath and send a tremor of primal fear through you. The surfaces of the pillars are alive. They are covered in exquisite, high-relief carvings of animals. But these are not the gentle, familiar creatures of the hunt. These are the avatars of a terrifying spirit world. You see snarling lions, their muscles tensed to pounce. You see venomous snakes coiling and writhing. You see scorpions, their tails arched and ready to strike. You see vultures, the birds of death, with their great dark wings. This is not art, this is not decoration. To your mind, to the mind of your people, these are not representations of animals, they are the animals. The spirit of the lion, the spirit of the scorpion, the spirit of the vulture, they have been summoned, captured, and bound into the stone by the magic of the carvers. The pillars are not stone. They are living, powerful, and deeply dangerous beings. And this is the first and most profound reason you would not endure a day here. Your modern rational mind is a liability. It is a fatal weakness. You have been trained to see the world as a collection of inert objects, of symbols, of data. You look at the pillar and you see a limestone monolith with a carving of a scorpion on it. You are analyzing it, you are categorizing it, but the people around you, your people, see something entirely different. They see the eternal, deathless, and terrifying spirit of the scorpion, a powerful, godlike entity, glaring at them from the stone. They are not in a construction site, they are in a house of the gods, and they are surrounded by a pantheon of powerful, and not necessarily friendly, deities. Your mind is a tool for understanding the physical world. Their minds are a tool for navigating the spirit world. And their spirit world is not a gentle, abstract heaven. It is a raw, immediate, and ever-present reality, a world of powerful, hungry, and demanding entities who must be constantly appeased, constantly negotiated with, constantly honored. To walk into this circle of stone with your modern consciousness would be like walking into a nuclear reactor with no protective shielding. The sheer, overwhelming psychic intensity of the place, the palpable presence of the spirits they have summoned, would be an assault on your sanity. You are trying to survive in a world of physics. They are living in a world of magic, and their magic is terrifyingly real. You are assigned your task. You are not a master carver, one of the elite few who can bring the spirits forth from the stone. You are not a priest who knows the sacred chants. You are a hauler. Your job is one of brute, sacred force. You join a team of 50 men. Your task for the day is to move a newly quarried pillar from the limestone quarry on the far side of the hill to the new enclosure that is being dug. The pillar is immense, a solid block of stone weighing perhaps 10 tons. It lies on a massive wooden sledge. There are no wheels, there are no beasts of burden. There is only wood, rope woven from plant fibers, and the synchronized sweating power of human muscle. An overseer, a man with a gaze of intense hypnotic focus, begins a low, guttural chant. It is a song of power, a song of the aurochs, the great wild cattle whose strength you are about to borrow. You and the other men take up your positions on the long, thick ropes. You begin to chant with him. The song builds, your voices joining into a single, resonant, powerful wave of sound. This is not just a work song to coordinate your pulling. It is a magical invocation. You are not just 50 men. You are a single, powerful hybrid creature, the man aurochs. The overseer gives a sharp, percussive cry. And on that sound you heave. The ropes go taut, your muscles scream, the veins stand out on your neck. For a moment, nothing happens. The great stone is an immovable part of the earth. Then with a deep, groaning sound from the wooden sledge, it moves. It slides a few inches. A great collective grunt of triumph goes through the men. The work has begun. And you know with a chilling certainty that it will not end until the sun has set, or until your own body breaks. This is your day, a single, back-breaking and utterly sacred act of creation. The work of moving the great stone is a form of brutal, rhythmic meditation. There is no room for individual thought, no space for the chattering anxieties of your own mind. There is only the chant, the rope, the strain in your muscles, and the collective, unified pulse of the group. Chant, heave, groan, slide. The world shrinks to this single, repetitive, and all-consuming cycle. Your hands, which in your modern life are accustomed to the smooth, cool surfaces of keyboards and touchscreens, are now raw and bleeding. The papyrus rope is a rough, abrasive serpent in your grip, and with every pull, it grinds the grit and dust of the limestone quarry deeper into your flesh. The pain is a constant, fiery presence, but you cannot let go. To be the weak link in this chain is not just a personal failure, it is a betrayal of the group, a sacrilege against the sacred work. So you clench your jaw, you ignore the pain, and you pull. The sun, a merciless white-hot eye in the sky, climbs higher. There is no shade on this hilltop. The heat radiates up from the pale limestone, creating a shimmering oven-like haze. Sweat pours from your body, stinging your eyes, plastering your rough animal skin tunic to your back. Thirst becomes a torment, a dry, rasping fire in your throat. Periodically, a group of women and older children will move along the line of haulers, carrying heavy skin bags of water. They offer you a brief, precious sip from a clay cup. The water is cool and tastes of the earth, the most delicious thing you can imagine. But it is a short reprieve. The overseer does not allow for long breaks. The stone must keep moving. Its journey is a sacred one, and to stop is to lose the spiritual momentum, to risk the displeasure of the spirits who are watching and waiting. You look at the faces of the men around you. They are masks of pure physical exertion. Their muscles are knotted, their teeth are clenched, their eyes are fixed with a strange, distant focus. But you do not see the sullen, resentful look of slaves. You see something else. You see a kind of ecstatic exhaustion. They have given themselves over completely to the work, to the chant, to the collective will. They are not just men dragging a rock. They are priests performing a physically agonizing but spiritually transcendent act of worship. And this is another reason you would not endure. Your mind is a creature of comfort and calculation. It is constantly asking, what is the point? What am I getting out of this? Is this an efficient use of my energy? You are driven by a logic of personal gain and loss. Their logic is entirely different. It is a logic of sacrifice. They are not building this for a personal reward. They are not being paid a wage. They are not even building it for a king or a pharaoh. There is no evidence of a single powerful ruler here. They are building it for the spirits, for the cosmos. They are sacrificing their comfort, their energy, their bodies, and sometimes their very lives to maintain a right relationship with the powerful, unseen forces that govern their world. To your mind, this is an act of profound, almost insane irrationality. They are spending an incalculable amount of energy that could be used for hunting, for gathering more food, for making their own lives more comfortable, and they are pouring it all into this seemingly useless project of carving and raising stones on a remote hilltop. But to them this is the most rational, the most practical, and the most important work they could possibly do. They understand the world as a delicate and dangerous balance. The herds of gazelle might not return next year. The wild wheat might fail. A sickness could sweep through the clan. These are not random acts of nature. They are signs of a disturbance in the spiritual world. And this work, this great, collective, sacrificial act, is what keeps that world in balance. The stones are not a temple in the sense of a place to go and worship. They are a tool, a great psychic machine for regulating the cosmos. To fail to build it, to fail to maintain it, would be the truly irrational act. It would be to invite chaos, starvation, and death. The hours grind on, the sun reaches its zenith. The 10-ton pillar has moved inch by agonizing inch a few hundred yards. The progress is slow, but it is relentless. During a brief rest, as you gulp down another cup of precious water, you see a different kind of work being done. A team of master carvers is at work on another pillar that is already in place within one of the enclosures. They are not using metal chisels. Their tools are simple, hand-held pieces of flint, napped to a wickedly sharp point. The limestone is soft, but the work is still incredibly painstaking. You watch one man, his body a wiry knot of concentration, as he carves the outline of a great, slithering snake onto the surface of a pillar. His movements are precise, economical, and filled with a deep, artistic confidence. He's not just scratching a picture. He is working in high relief, chipping away the stone around the snake so that it seems to leap from the surface. He is giving it form and life. You look at the sheer number of carvings, the incredible detail, and you do a simple, modern calculation. The time, the sheer number of man-hours required to create this single pillar with its dozen or more complex animal reliefs is staggering. It would take a single carver months, perhaps even a year. And there are hundreds of pillars here, some still buried, waiting to be discovered. The scale of the artistic and spiritual investment is almost beyond your comprehension. This was not a part-time project. This was the central organizing principle of their entire society. For centuries, perhaps even for a millennium, these scattered nomadic bands of hunter-gatherers have been coming together here at this one sacred spot to pour their energy into this single, monumental task. The implications of this are profound. It shatters the old, simple story of human progress. The old story was that agriculture came first. People settled in villages, grew surplus food, and only then did they have the time, the resources, and the social organization to build complex temples and create sophisticated art. But Göbekli Tepe tells a different and much stranger story. It tells you that the temple came first, that the great, shared, religious idea, the need to build this house for the gods, was the very thing that drove them to develop a more complex society. They had to organize themselves. They had to coordinate the labor of hundreds, perhaps thousands of people from different clans. They had to figure out how to feed this great, temporary workforce. You see the evidence of this all around you. You see great piles of gazelle bones, thousands of them, far more than a single hunting band could ever consume. Archaeologists in your future will discover that these bones all come from the same season of the year, the autumn, when the gazelle herds would migrate through this region. It means that this great gathering was a scheduled event, a planned festival of work and worship. This project, this great shared dream, was the catalyst. It was the thing that taught them how to be something more than just a small, wandering band. It was the forge in which civilization itself was being hammered into shape. The profound need to serve their terrifying gods was what, paradoxically, taught them how to become more fully human. The sun begins its long, slow descent towards the western hills. Your body is a single, screaming symphony of pain. Your hands are a mangled mess. Your back feels as if it is about to snap. You are dehydrated, exhausted, and running on nothing but the last dregs of your willpower and the relentless driving rhythm of the chant. Finally, the stone reaches its destination. It is brought to the edge of the new circular pit that has been dug for it. The work of the haulers is done. Now the work of the engineers, the masters of the levers and the ropes will begin. The raising of the stone will be a separate and even more dangerous and sacred ceremony. You are released from your rope. You stumble away, your body trembling with the aftershocks of the massive effort. You are given a larger portion of water and a handful of roasted pistachios and dried figs, a precious, energy-rich reward for your labor. You find a place to collapse your back against a finished but as yet uncarved pillar.
You are not a hero.
You have not accomplished a great feat. You have simply survived your first day of labor. You are a single muscle fiber in a great communal body.
And you have done your part.
As you sit there, watching the sky turn from a brilliant, searing blue to a soft, bruised purple, you look at the circle of stone gods around you. Their carved eyes, their snarling mouths, their poised stingers seem to watch you with a cold, ancient, and utterly indifferent intelligence. They are the reason for all of this pain, all of this effort. They are the silent, demanding masters of this world.
And you realize that your ordeal is not over.
You have survived the labor of the day, but now you must survive the night in their terrifying and very present company. As the sun bleeds away below the horizon, the world is not plunged into a simple darkness. It is transformed. The searing heat of the day gives way to a sudden, biting cold that seems to rise from the very stones themselves. The character of the hilltop changes from a vast, noisy worksite into something older, quieter, and infinitely more menacing. The great work of the day is done, but the sacred work of the night is just beginning. The overseers of the labor are replaced by a new authority, the shamans, the spirit walkers, the intermediaries between the world of the living and the vast, terrifying world of the spirits. You see them moving now, figures draped in the skins of powerful animals, a wolf, a great raptor, a wild boar. Their faces are painted with symbols in red ochre and charcoal, masks that erase their human individuality and transform them into living conduits for the powers they serve. They begin to light fires, not the large communal cooking fires of the encampment below, but smaller, hotter, more focused fires within the sacred stone enclosures themselves. The firelight flickers against the carved pillars, and the effect is terrifyingly magical. The high-relief animals, which in the flat, honest light of day were simply magnificent sculptures, now seem to move. The dancing shadows give them the illusion of breath, of life. The snarling mouth of the carved lion seems to twitch. The coiling body of the great snake seems to writhe. The stone circle is no longer a static monument. It has become a living, breathing menagerie of captured spirits, all awakened by the coming of the night. The sounds change too. The percussive, rhythmic chants of labor are replaced by a different kind of music. The deep, resonant, and hypnotic beat of a large frame drum. The high, ethereal, and almost painfully beautiful sound of a flute carved from the wing bone of a vulture. And the voices of the shamans, chanting in a strange, high-pitched, ululating tone that seems to be not just a human sound, but an imitation of the cries of birds and the howls of predators. This is not music for entertainment, it is a technology. It is a sonic tool designed to alter consciousness, to thin the veil between the worlds, to open the human mind to the terrifying, intoxicating, and overwhelming reality of the spirit world. You are not a participant in this. You are a mere observer, a layman, huddled with the other exhausted laborers at the edge of the enclosure. You have done your physical work. The work of the spirit is for the specialists, the masters of the sacred arts. But you cannot escape its effects. The relentless driving rhythm of the drum begins to work on you. It is not a rhythm you hear with your ears alone. You feel it in your chest, in your bones, in the very rhythm of your own heartbeat. It is a sound that bypasses the rational mind and speaks directly to the ancient primal part of your brain. Your sense of self, already battered by the day's collective labor, begins to dissolve. The boundaries between you and the man sitting next to you, between you and the cold earth, between you and the vibrating air, begin to feel thin and porous. Then come the offering. This is the payment for the day's work, the appeasement of the spirits who have allowed their sacred hill to be disturbed. But the offerings are not of grain or flowers. The gods of Göbekli Tepe are not gentle deities. They are the hard, ancient, and bloodthirsty gods of the hunt. You see several men leading a magnificent wild aurochs into the center of the enclosure. It is a colossal beast, its horns as wide as a man is tall, its eyes rolling with terror. It is a creature of immense power, a living symbol of the untamed, chaotic energy of the wilderness. The shamans dance around it, their movements mimicking the predators of the plain. They are becoming the wolf. They are becoming the lion. They are invoking the spirit of the hunter. The drumming grows faster, more frantic. The crowd of onlookers begins a low, rhythmic chant, a wave of sound that seems to press in on the terrified animal. The chief shaman, a man wearing a mask of vulture feathers, approaches the aurochs. He does not carry a bronze axe. His people have not yet mastered that metal. He carries a massive, brutally effective flint spear. With a single, powerful, and deeply practiced thrust, he drives the spear into the heart of the beast. The aurochs lets out a great, bellowing roar of pain and rage, a sound that seems to shake the very foundations of the hill.
It staggers, its great legs buckling.
Its lifeblood, dark and steaming in the cold night air, pours onto the thirsty limestone floor of the enclosure, a direct, potent offering to the spirits of the earth. The death of the great beast is the trigger. The controlled, ritualistic atmosphere explodes into a kind of ecstatic, religious frenzy. The shamans fall upon the carcass, their flint knives flashing in the firelight. They are not just butchering the animal. They are performing a sacred act of communion. The heart, the liver, the sources of the animal's life force are quickly cut out. They are consumed raw and still warm by the shamans, a direct, powerful infusion of the creature's spirit and power. The rest of the meat is quickly hacked apart and roasted over the hot fires. And then begins the great feast of the night. You are given a piece of the sacred sacrificed meat. It is tough, gamey, and seared on the outside, but almost raw on the inside. You eat it, and the taste is one of wildness, of blood, of a life violently taken and now consumed. This is not just food to fill your belly.
This is a sacrament. You are eating the god.
You are absorbing its power, its courage, its ferocity into your own being. And then comes the drink, a special ceremonial brew served in communal clay bowls. It is a thick, fermented, beer-like substance, but it is mixed with something else, something psychoactive. You can taste the bitterness of strange herbs, the earthy, fungal taste of mushrooms. This is another reason you would not endure. Your modern, sober mind, so carefully protected from any form of altered state, is utterly unprepared for this.
This is not a recreational drug.
This is a religious technology. It is designed to shatter the ego, to dissolve the boundaries of ordinary perception, to throw open the doors to the spirit world. You drink, you have no choice. To refuse the sacred brew would be an unthinkable insult. The taste is strange and sour. You feel a warmth spread through your belly. And then the world begins to change. The firelight seems to grow brighter, the colors more intense. The carvings on the pillars are no longer just moving. They are detaching themselves from the stone. You see the spirit snake slithering on the ground. You see the great shadow vulture circling overhead. The air is no longer empty. It is thick with beings, with presences, with the chattering, whispering voices of 1,000 invisible entities. The drumming is no longer a sound from outside. It is the rhythm of your own, expanding consciousness. The line between yourself and the world dissolves completely. You are the stone, you are the fire, you are the sacrificed aurochs, you are the stars that are wheeling in the vast black sky above. You are experiencing the world as your hunter-gatherer ancestors did, not as a collection of separate, dead objects, but as a single, living, breathing, and infinitely conscious organism. And it is terrifying. Your ego, your sense of a separate, individual self, is dying, and it is fighting back. It is screaming in silent psychic terror. You are being dissolved in the great cosmic ocean of the one mind, and you are terrified of drowning. You look at the faces of the people around you. They are not terrified, they are ecstatic. They are dancing, their bodies moving in strange, angular patterns that mimic the animals on the pillars. They are chanting, their voices joined in a single, powerful, and deeply strange song. They have surrendered to the experience. They are riding the great, powerful wave of collective ecstatic consciousness. They are at home in this world. You are an alien, a tourist in the heart of a mystery you can only perceive as madness. You are a rational mind trapped in a world of pure, overwhelming, and terrifyingly real myth. The night deepens, the ceremony reaches its peak. You see things that your mind cannot process. You see shamans whose bodies seem to transform, to shapeshift. You see lights moving in the sky that are not stars. You feel the ancient, sleeping consciousness of the hill itself, a great, slow, and powerful being awakening beneath you.
You are not going mad.
You are simply seeing the world through their eyes, a world where the spiritual and the physical are not separate, where the veil between the worlds is thin, and on this sacred night, on this sacred hill, it has been torn completely asunder. As the first faint hint of dawn approaches, the intensity begins to subside. The drumming slows, the chanting softens. The psychoactive effects of the brew begin to wane, leaving behind a state of profound, peaceful, and utterly empty exhaustion. The spirits are retreating, the veil is thickening once more. You are left huddled on the cold ground, your body trembling, your mind a raw, open wound. You have survived the night, but you have been fundamentally changed. You have been shown the true, terrifying, and magnificent nature of the universe as these people understand it. And you know with a certainty that will haunt you forever that your own safe, predictable, and rational world is a tiny, fragile island in a vast and ancient ocean of magic and mystery.
And you can never, ever go back to the person you were before you saw what lies on the other side.
Dawn arrives not as a gentle awakening, but as a slow, painful return to the world of solid forms. The grey light of the morning after the ceremony is stark and unforgiving. The sacred, terrifying magic of the night has retreated, leaving behind a world that seems mundane and exhausted in comparison. You sit up, your body a landscape of aches. The after-effects of the psychoactive brew are a dull, throbbing headache and a profound sense of physical and emotional depletion. You feel as if you have been taken apart, piece by piece, and then crudely reassembled. The world around you has a strange, flat quality, as if a dimension of reality has been switched off. The hilltop is a scene of quiet, weary aftermath. The great fires have died down to smoking pits of ash. The remains of the feast, gnawed bones, broken pottery, are scattered across the enclosure. The people are not celebrating. They are quiet, subdued, moving with a slow, deliberate economy of motion. They are recovering from a profound spiritual exertion, a collective journey into the heart of the abyss. You see the shamans, their painted faces now smeared and ghostly in the morning light. They are no longer possessed by the powerful spirits of the night. They are just men, old and tired, their bodies showing the physical toll of their sacred work. One of them is being tended to by a woman who is applying a poultice of herbs to a self-inflicted gash on his arm, a wound he does not even seem to remember acquiring during his ecstatic trance. This is the other side of their religion. It is not all ecstatic power and cosmic connection. It is also a system of immense and dangerous psychic risk. To open oneself to the spirit world is to risk being torn apart by its raw, untamed power. To be a shaman is to be a lightning rod, and sometimes the lightning strikes. You see, in the haunted, distant look in their eyes, the price of their knowledge. But the work of the day must begin. This is a society with no surplus, no safety net. The sacred duties are done, and now the practical necessities of survival must be attended to. The Great Gathering is a temporary, fragile thing, and it must be sustained by the constant daily labor of the hunt. Small groups of hunters begin to prepare. They are not the same men who hauled the great stones yesterday. They are a different caste, a different specialization. They are the lean, silent men, their bodies sinewy and light, their senses honed to a razor's edge. They are not built for brute force, but for patience, for tracking, for the single, explosive burst of energy required to launch a spear. They gather their tools, their flint-tipped spears, their atlatls for greater range and power, and their bows, a newer, more sophisticated technology. You watch as one of them checks the fletching on his arrows, each feather carefully bound with sinew. He is not just checking his equipment, he is in a state of quiet communion with it. His spear is not an object, it is an extension of his will. His bow is a partner in the deadly dance of the hunt. They do not leave as a great noisy group. They melt away from the encampment in small, almost invisible teams of 2 or 3, disappearing into the vast, rolling landscape of the Anatolian plains. Their goal is not just to bring back meat for the feasting. Their goal is to feed the builders. The entire, massive and seemingly irrational project of Göbekli Tepe is entirely dependent on the skill, the courage, and the success of these few men. And in this you see the birth of a complex society. This is no longer a simple, egalitarian band of hunter-gatherers where every man is a hunter and every woman is a gatherer. This is a society of specialists. There are the haulers, the men of brute sacred force. There are the carvers, the artists, the keepers of the sacred images. There are the shamans, the masters of the spirit world. And there are the hunters, the providers, the men who fuel this entire complex operation. This great project has forced them to specialize, to organize, to create a social structure of a complexity that archaeologists in your future will argue shouldn't exist for another several thousand years. The temple is not a product of their complex society. Their complex society is a product of the temple. The sheer, overwhelming demand of their shared, sacred idea is forcing them to evolve. With the hunters gone, a different kind of work resumes on the hilltop. The hauling of the great pillars is a task for special occasions. The daily work is the slow, patient, and endless task of carving. You wander back to the enclosures and you see the master carvers returning to their posts. The frenzy of the night is gone, replaced by a quiet, almost monastic sense of focus. You watch the same man you saw yesterday, the man who was carving the snake. He is now working on a different animal on a different part of the pillar, a fox. His work is a revelation. He's not just carving a picture of a fox. He is telling a story. He carves the fox in a strange, almost abstract style. Its body is lean, its tail is bushy, and it is depicted with its head turned, looking directly back at the viewer, its mouth open in what could be a snarl or a bark. It is an image of cunning, of intelligence, of a creature that is a master of its own hidden world. You look around at the other pillars and you begin to see that this is not just a random collection of animal spirits. This is a language, a complex system of symbols, a kind of pre-literate mythology written in stone. Each animal has its own meaning, its own power, its own story. The lion represents raw, untamed power. The snake represents the chthonic underworld spirits. The vulture represents death and transformation. The fox represents cunning and secrecy. This is their library. This is their sacred text. They have not yet invented writing, the system of abstract symbols that will represent the sounds of their language. They are still in a world of pure, direct, and powerful imagery. Their ideas are not written down, they are carved, they are made manifest. And this reveals another profound reason why you would not endure. You are a creature of the written word. Your mind has been shaped, structured, and in many ways limited by literacy. You think in abstract linear sequences. You process the world through a filter of words.
They do not, they think in images.
In myths, in a deep, associative and holistic way that you can barely comprehend. To them, the story of the cunning fox is not just a story. It is a living, energetic reality that they can access by simply looking at its image. The carving is not a symbol of the fox spirit. It is a gateway to it. You have learned to read books. They have learned to read the world. They can look at the track of a gazelle and read a story of its age, its health, its destination. They can look at the flight of a bird and read a prophecy of the coming weather. They can look at the patterns of the stars and read a map of the sacred year. Their entire world is a text, and they are its fluent, effortless readers. You in this world are illiterate. You are deaf to the subtle, symbolic language that is being spoken all around you. You look at the pillars and you see a magnificent but ultimately silent art gallery. They look at the pillars and they read a story as complex, as detailed, and as meaningful as the Iliad or the Epic of Gilgamesh. You spend the day in a state of quiet, humbled observation. You are a ghost from a distant, noisy, and word-saturated future, wandering through a world of silent, powerful images. You have no role to play. You have no work to do. The back-breaking labor of the haulers is too much for your soft, modern body. The subtle, artistic skill of the carvers is beyond your untrained hands. The terrifying, ecstatic work of the shamans is beyond the capacity of your rational, protected mind. You are, for the first time in your life, utterly and completely useless. Your skills, your knowledge, your very way of thinking have no value here. You are a child, a helpless infant in a world of competent, powerful, and deeply knowledgeable adults.
As the sun begins to set, the hunters return.
They do not come back with a great, magnificent aurochs. They come back with a string of smaller game, a few gazelles, a wild boar, a collection of rabbits. It is enough. It is enough to feed the workers, to keep the great project moving forward for another day. The evening feast is a much quieter, more subdued affair than the ecstatic ritual of the night before. It is a meal of simple, grateful necessity. The meat is shared, the day's work is done. A sense of weary, communal satisfaction settles over the encampment. You eat your portion, and you are no longer just tasting the meat. You are tasting the skill of the hunter who brought it down, the labor of the woman who butchered it, the preciousness of the fire that cooked it. You are tasting the entire complex and interconnected web of life and effort that makes this single meal possible. Your relationship with the world, with the very food you eat, is being fundamentally and permanently changed. The days settle into a new rhythm, a cycle of sacred labor and weary rest. You have found a small, almost insignificant niche for yourself in this complex society. You are not a hauler, a carver, or a shaman, but you are strong enough to carry water from the distant spring. You are patient enough to grind the wild wheat and the nuts on a heavy stone quern. You perform the simple, menial, and necessary tasks that support the great work. You have become a servant to the servants of the gods, and in this humble role you have found a strange, quiet sense of peace. Your old, ego-driven need for importance has been scoured away, leaving only the simple satisfaction of being useful. In this new role, you are given a different kind of access to their world. You are no longer just an observer of the great public ceremonies. You become a quiet, almost invisible presence in the daily life of the encampment. And it is here that you witness one of the most important and most mysterious processes of their culture, the education of their children. There are no schools, there are no classrooms, there are no formal lessons, and yet the children are in a constant state of intense and profound learning. Their education is a process of total, immersive apprenticeship in the art of being human in their world. You watch the young boys. From the moment they can walk, they are given small, toy-like spears and bows. They do not just play at hunting, they are taught. They follow the older hunters, not on the real hunt, but on the periphery of the sacred hill. They are taught to read the language of the earth. An old hunter will stop, and he will point not at a track, but at a single, bent blade of grass. And he will begin to tell a story. He will explain how the way the grass is bent tells him that a gazelle passed this way. He will show the boy how the faint scuff marks in the earth next to it tell him the gazelle was limping slightly. He will point to the height of a nibbled leaf on a nearby bush and explain how that tells him the size of the animal.
This is not a lesson in biology.
It is a lesson in a kind of narrative physics. The world is a story, and the children are being taught how to read it, to understand its grammar, its syntax, its deep, hidden meanings. They are learning a form of literacy that is far more complex and holistic than your own. You watch the young girls. They work alongside the women, their small hands learning the intricate skills of their gender. They are not just taught how to cook or how to mind a fire. They are taught the deep, secret knowledge of the plant world. An old woman, one of the clan's healers, will take them out onto the plains. She will not just show them which plants are edible and which are poisonous. She will teach them the spirit of the plant. She will teach them the chant that must be sung to the poppy before its sap can be harvested for a pain-killing draught. She will teach them that the bark of the willow, which is used to ease fevers, holds a cool spirit and must be thanked for its gift. This is not botany, this is a form of spiritual ecology. The children are learning that the world is not a collection of resources for them to use. It is a community of living, conscious beings of which they are a part, and their relationship with this community must be one of respect, of reciprocity, of a constant, careful negotiation. And all the children, both boys and girls, are brought to the hilltop. They are brought into the great stone enclosures. They sit for hours in silence, simply looking at the carved pillars. They are not told what the animals mean in a direct, didactic way. They are encouraged to look, to feel, to dream. You see a master carver sitting with a young boy, his apprentice. He is not teaching the boy how to hold the flint tool. He is teaching him how to see. He points to a pillar, to the carving of the great lion. Feel its weight, he says, through a series of gestures and soft sounds. Feel the power in its shoulders. That power is in the stone. You are not carving a picture of a lion. You are letting the lion that is already in the stone out. You are a midwife to the stone's dreams. This is their art class, and it is their religion class, and it is their history class. The pillars are their schoolhouse. The children are absorbing their entire culture, their entire worldview, simply by being in the presence of these powerful, silent stone teachers. They are learning the stories, the symbols, the very structure of their cosmos in a deep, intuitive, and non-verbal way. But you, the observer from the future, see something else as well. You see the first, faint, and almost imperceptible signs of a world that is beginning to change, a change that will, in a few thousand years, make this entire way of life obsolete. The changes in the food. The hunters are still the heroes of the society, their success the foundation of its survival. But the hunt is becoming less certain. The great herds of gazelle and wild ass that once roamed these plains are smaller now, their migration patterns less predictable. The climate is slowly changing, becoming warmer and drier. And so the women's work, the gathering, is becoming more and more important. You notice that they are not just gathering the wild wheat and barley that grows on the hillsides. They are actively tending it. They are clearing the weeds from around the most productive patches. They are deliberately re-sowing some of the seeds in the most fertile soil near the seasonal streams. They are not yet farmers. They are not yet settled. They are still nomads. But they are beginning to experiment. They are beginning to form a new, more intimate and more manipulative relationship with the plant world. They are taking the first tentative steps on the long road to agriculture. And you, with your knowledge of the future, know that this small, seemingly insignificant change is the beginning of a revolution that will ultimately destroy this world. The invention of farming will be the single most profound and disruptive event in the history of humanity. It will bring a surplus of food which will allow for the growth of permanent villages and then cities. It will lead to the idea of property, of owning the land. It will create new social hierarchies of landowners and laborers. It will lead to the rise of kings and armies to protect that land. It will, in the end, create the very world that you have come from, a world of cities, of states, of wars, of a deep and profound alienation from the natural world they now hold so sacred. You are standing at the very tipping point of human history. You are witnessing the last glorious and monumental flourishing of the hunter-gatherer consciousness, the worldview that has sustained humanity for hundreds of thousands of years. And you are also witnessing the birth of the new agricultural consciousness that will replace it. The people of Göbekli Tepe do not know this. They do not know that their children's children's children will live in a world that is utterly different from their own. They do not know that the great stone circles they are building with such immense sacrificial effort are not the dawn of a new age of their culture, but its magnificent final and breathtaking sunset. They are building a temple to a dying world. And this gives their work a new and profound pathos. You look at the carvers, so deeply focused on their work. You look at the haulers pouring their life force into the ropes. They believe they are reinforcing the order of their universe, but the universe is changing around them in ways they cannot see. One evening, as you sit by the fire, you watch an old storyteller, a woman who is the keeper of the clan's oral traditions. She is telling the story of the creation of the world. It is a story of a great cosmic hunt, of the creator gods who hunted the primordial beasts and from their bodies created the mountains and the rivers. It is a story that perfectly reflects their own lives, their own worldview. And you realize that in a few thousand years, a new story will be told. A story of a garden, of a forbidden fruit, of a man who is punished by being forced to till the soil by the sweat of his brow.
A story of the fall.
The people of Göbekli Tepe are, in a very real sense, still in the Garden of Eden. They are still living in a world of direct, intuitive communion with nature. And you are a witness to their last, innocent days. You are watching them build their greatest monument, their hymn to their world, on the very eve of their expulsion from the garden. The thought fills you with a sense of profound and deeply helpless sorrow. You are a ghost from the future, and you are watching the death of a world. And you know that the world that will replace it, for all its material wealth and its technological power, will have lost something precious, something ancient, something that it will spend the next 12,000 years trying and failing to remember. It will have lost the ability to hear the stories that are written in the stone. The years continue their slow, patient, and almost imperceptible turning. You are an old man now, your body a map of a life of hard labor, your hair the color of the chalky hills. You have become an elder, a quiet, strange, and respected part of the community. You are the man who came from nowhere, the man who speaks in a strange way, but the man who has proven his worth through his quiet, steady, and unending work. The children who were young when you arrived are now the hunters and the mothers of the next generation. You have watched the world change, not in a dramatic upheaval, but in a slow, almost invisible drift. The climate is warmer, drier. The great herds of gazelle are a memory, a story the old hunters tell to the wide-eyed children. The hunt is now a more difficult, less certain affair, focused on smaller, more solitary game. The small experimental patches of tended wild wheat along the streams are now larger, more deliberate. The women have learned to save the best seeds from each harvest. They are becoming, without a name for it, farmers. And the great work on the hilltop has changed. There is a sense that the project is nearing its end. No new massive enclosures are being dug. The work is now focused on the final carvings, the completion of the last pillars in the existing circles. The furious, creative energy of the monument's youth is giving way to a more sedate and perhaps more anxious period of completion. Then, one year, a new and profoundly strange kind of work begins. A work that, to your modern mind, is almost more shocking than the original construction. The people begin to bury their temple. It is a deliberate, systematic, and incredibly laborious process. They are not just abandoning the site, they are intentionally and carefully interring it. You watch as they begin. Great processions of people, carrying baskets woven from reeds, begin to haul earth and rubble up the side of the sacred hill. They are taking the soil from the valleys below, the very soil that is now becoming the source of their new agricultural life, and they are using it to fill the great circular enclosures. The work is just as arduous as the original construction, but its purpose is the opposite. It is not an act of creation, it is an act of preservation. A sacred burial, they fill the enclosures slowly, carefully. They pack the earth and stone around the great T-shaped pillars. You watch as the lower parts of the magnificent animal carvings, the scorpions and the snakes, are slowly covered, their fierce, spiritual power gently put to sleep under a blanket of soil. They are not smashing the pillars. They are not desecrating them. They are protecting them. They are hiding them from the world. Why? The question is a profound and unanswerable mystery. You are a part of this work now. You carry your own basket of earth up the hill. Your own sweat is mingling with the dust that will entomb this sacred place.
But you do not understand the reason.
Perhaps the shamans have decreed it. Perhaps their spirit journeys have told them that the age of this particular magic is over, that the spirits who reside in these stones, the raw, powerful, and terrifying spirits of the wild hunter's world, are too dangerous for the new age that is dawning. The new age of the farmer will require new gods, gentler gods, gods of the soil, of the sun, of the rain. And to allow the old gods to remain exposed would be to risk a terrible cosmic conflict. Or perhaps it is a more practical and more heartbreaking reason. Perhaps they know that their world is changing, that their society is fragmenting. The great, unified purpose that allowed them to build this place is dissolving. The clans are becoming more settled, more tied to their own specific plots of land. They are no longer making the great, seasonal pilgrimage to this central sacred spot. They can no longer muster the thousands of workers needed to maintain and protect the site. And so rather than let it fall into ruin, rather than let it be slowly reclaimed by the wind and the rain, or worse, desecrated by a future people who will not understand its power, they choose to bury it themselves. It is a final, great, communal act of love and respect. They are putting their God to bed. The process takes generations. You will not live to see its completion. But you are there for the beginning of the end. You watch as the magnificent, awe-inspiring stone circles, the vibrant theatres of ritual and magic, are slowly, methodically, and lovingly transformed back into what they were before. Simple, rounded hills. The final act you witness before your own life fades is the burial of one of the smaller, older enclosures. As the last layer of earth is being placed, a shaman performs a final, quiet ritual. He sacrifices not a great aurochs, but a small, wild bird. He places the body of the bird in the soil, a final, gentle offering. He then looks out at the world, at the new, permanent settlements that are beginning to dot the landscape, at the fields of domesticated wheat that are beginning to replace the wild plains. And he speaks, his voice a low, sad whisper that the wind carries away. It is a farewell. The long, slow process of forgetting begins. The children of the people who buried the temple will know that there is something sacred hidden beneath the potbelly hill. They will tell stories of it. But their children's children will only remember the stories, not the reality. And their children after that will see only a collection of strange, rounded hills on the horizon, a place their parents told them was special, but they are not sure why. The world moves on. New cultures rise and fall. The Hittites, the Assyrians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Byzantines, the Ottomans, their great armies will march across these Anatolian plains. Their empires will rise and fall, and none of them will ever know that they are marching over the heads of the sleeping stone gods of a forgotten primordial world. For 12,000 years, the temple sleeps. The hill of Göbekli Tepe becomes just another feature of the landscape, a place for shepherds to graze their flocks. Its name is lost, its purpose is forgotten. Its very existence is erased from the memory of humanity. It is the most profound and successful act of cultural preservation ever undertaken. The builders of Göbekli Tepe did not just create the world's first temple, they also created the world's greatest time capsule. And then, in your time, in the late 20th century, a shepherd walking his flock across the familiar rounded hill notices a strange rectangular piece of limestone sticking out of the ground. He has seen them before, but today, for some reason, he is curious. He reports his finding to the local museum. An archaeologist, a German named Klaus Schmidt, comes to investigate. He has seen similar flint-strewn hills in the region, and he has a radical, almost unbelievable theory that they might be the sites of a lost pre-agricultural civilization. He looks at the hill, at the shape of the land, at the fragments of worked flint on the surface, and he knows with a sudden, intuitive certainty that will define the rest of his life that he is standing on something extraordinary. He begins to dig, and as the first shovelfuls of earth are cleared away, the top of a great T-shaped limestone pillar is revealed. It is the first time it has seen the light of the sun for 12,000 years. The world of the builders, the world you have just inhabited, is about to be rediscovered. A new kind of priest has arrived, armed not with a flint knife, but with a trowel and a carbon dating machine. And he is about to awaken the sleeping gods, and in doing so, to completely and irrevocably rewrite the story of all of our pasts. The long silence is about to be broken, and so the great forgetting ends, and the age of our own rediscovery begins. The work of the archaeologist Klaus Schmidt and his international team is the modern scientific echo of the ancient, sacred work you witnessed. Their labor is not one of brute force, but of infinite patience. They do not use great machines to tear open the hillside in a matter of hours. They use small, delicate hand tools, trowels, brushes, and fine dental picks to peel back the layers of soil with the care of a scholar turning the fragile pages of a priceless manuscript. They are not just digging for objects, they are reading a fragile 12,000-year-old text written in the language of soil, stone, and bone. Each layer of earth they carefully remove is a sentence in a story that has been silent for millennia. They find the fill of the enclosures, a dense, intentional mixture of limestone chippings, the broken and discarded bones of thousands of consumed animals, and countless fragments of expertly worked flint tools. This is the very soil you carried in your basket, the sacred blanket that was used to put the temple to sleep. And for the archaeologists, it is a treasure trove of information, a time capsule of a lost way of life. The animal bones, when analyzed, tell a story that is utterly revolutionary. They are all the bones of wild animals: gazelle, aurochs, wild boar, wild ass. There is not a single bone from a domesticated animal. This is the hard, irrefutable proof that the people who built this magnificent complex were not farmers, they were hunter-gatherers. The flint tools, hundreds of thousands of them, speak not of a small occasional gathering, but of a vast, sustained, and highly organized industrial effort, a flint-knapping workshop on a scale never before imagined for this period. And then, as they dig deeper, as they peel back the final layers of this protective earth, the great pillars emerge, one by one, from their long, 12,000-year slumber. The archaeologists, seasoned and professional as they are, can only stand in stunned, reverent silence as the magnificent carved animals are revealed, their forms as crisp, as clear, and as powerful as the day they were first carved. They are seeing what you saw, what the builders saw. The snarling, stylized lions, their tails curled in a posture of aggression. The coiling, venomous snakes, their bodies flowing across the stone. The patient, watchful, and deeply unsettling vultures, the ancient spirits of death and transformation. The archaeologists are not just excavating a site, they are shaking hands with the artists, the shamans, and the engineers of a world that was supposed to be a myth. The discovery sends a profound shockwave through the quiet academic worlds of archaeology and history. The entire carefully constructed and comfortably linear timeline of human civilization is shattered. The old, simple, and logical story that has been taught for generations, that the invention of agriculture led to surplus food, which allowed for permanent settlements, which in turn gave rise to complex religion and the ability to build monumental architecture, is proven to be completely and spectacularly wrong. At Göbekli Tepe, the evidence is undeniable, written in the very stone itself. The great, complex, and ritually significant temple came first. The vast, organized, and deeply spiritual project of building this monument was not a result of a settled, agricultural civilization. It was the cause. It was the great, shared, and perhaps terrifyingly urgent religious idea, the need to build a house for their powerful and demanding gods. That was the very engine that forced these small, nomadic bands of hunter-gatherers to learn how to organize themselves on a mass scale. It was the catalyst that drove them to cooperate, to specialize, to innovate, and, eventually, to settle down and invent farming, simply to create a reliable food source to feed the hundreds of workers required for their sacred, monumental project. It is a profound and deeply unsettling revelation. It suggests that the driving force behind the birth of civilization, the great revolution that would lead to cities, to writing, to empires, and to our entire modern world, was not, as we had always pragmatically believed, economic necessity, but religious imagination. It was not the desire for a full belly that created our world, but the desire to understand our place in the cosmos, to build a bridge to the spirit world, to appease the terrifying, powerful, and ever-present forces that governed their lives. We did not build temples because we had surplus food. We invented the very concept of surplus food and the agriculture that provides it in order to build temples. As you lie here now in the deep comfort and safety of your own bed, on the very verge of sleep, allow this radical, world-changing idea to settle in your mind. The foundations of our entire world, the great agricultural revolution, were not laid by a pragmatic farmer with a digging stick, but by a wild-eyed shaman with a drum, dreaming of a house for his gods. The engine of all of history is not the plough, but the prayer. What does this mean for us, for our understanding of ourselves? It means that the people of Göbekli Tepe were not primitive savages grunting their way through a brutish existence. They were our intellectual and spiritual equals. They were wrestling with the same fundamental and eternally unanswered questions that we still wrestle with today.
What is the nature of consciousness?
What is our relationship with the vast and often frightening animal world? How do we find meaning in a universe that is at once breathtakingly beautiful and terrifyingly indifferent? Their answers were profoundly different from ours. They did not write their answers in books of philosophy or scientific journals. They carved them in stone. They built their entire cosmic understanding into the architecture of this sacred hill. They created a great, silent, and magnificent model of their cosmos, a place where the world of the living, the world of the honored dead, and the overwhelmingly powerful world of the spirits could meet and interact and be brought into a fragile and necessary balance. The monument they left behind is not just an archaeological site, it is a message. A 12,000-year-old message written in a symbolic language of animal forms and celestial alignments that we are only just beginning to learn how to read. It is a message that tells us that our own modern, materialistic worldview, with its neat separation of the physical and the spiritual, is not the only way of being human. It tells us of a time when the world was not a collection of dead objects and resources to be exploited, but was a living, breathing, and conscious entity. A time when an animal was not just a creature of flesh and blood, but was a gateway to a spiritual power. A time when a stone was not just a stone, but was a house for a god, a living being with a slow, deep, and patient consciousness of its own. The journey you have taken tonight, your single, grueling and transformative day in the shadow of Göbekli Tepe, was a journey into that lost and ancient consciousness. You have felt the raw, abrasive pull of the ropes in your hands. You have tasted the smoky, sacred meat of the sacrificed aurochs. You have danced, in your mind, to the hypnotic, soul-altering rhythm of the shaman's drum. You have been a guest in a world where magic was physics and where physics was magic. You have survived, but you have survived by letting go. By letting go of your modern certainties, of your rational filters, of your deep-seated belief in your own separation from the world around you. You have survived by becoming, for a brief and terrifying time, a part of their collective, spiritual, and all-encompassing dream. As you finally allow yourself to drift into the quiet, personal, and mysterious universe of your own sleep, let the final image be of the great, silent, T-shaped pillars standing in the cold, pre-dawn light on a remote Anatolian hilltop.
They are not just ancient stones, they are sentinels.
They are the guardians of a forgotten way of knowing, a lost chapter in the story of the human mind. They are a quiet and powerful reminder that the world is far older, far stranger, and far more magical than our modern stories have led us to believe. They are a testament to the enduring and often terrifying power of the human spirit to imagine, to believe, and to build the impossible. The great work is done, the temple is asleep, and now you can sleep too.